welcome to another episode of Into the Pit. I have Mustafa from Ghost Hunters, and I couldn't believe he actually agreed to come on my show. But welcome.
Thanks for having me, man. It's great to be here.
So you've got a new season starting up on Wednesday night,
Yeah, yeah.
a 2 hour premiere.
Oh, yeah.
All right, tell me what you can.
Jeez Louise, man. I mean, season two, I'm sure, I know you spoke with Brandon already, but season two is, I've always kind of been a bit of a skeptic in the paranormal. I started to just kind of dispel any notions of there being paranormal. I grew up in a house that was haunted and I saw crazy stuff, but my parents would always kind of blame their misfortunes on like ghosts and the paranormal. So I wanted to disprove that that stuff existed because I was sick and tired of my dad like being like, "Oh, we don't have any money because of ghosts." It's like, no, it's because you're a contractor who's making stupid investment decisions in the stock market. You shouldn't be in the stock market. You build houses and fix bathrooms. Like, don't invest. And or like, oh, our relationship's bad. It's like, well, it's because you had an arranged marriage. Like, when mom was 17, like it's probably that ghosts have nothing to do with that. But what was interesting was that the more I investigated the house, the more I was left with more questions than I was answers, and the more I learned about like weird stuff that happened there, that kind of opened my eyes to the possibility of the paranormal. But as time progressed, and I went on a lot of these cases and these investigations, I encountered more kind of crazy people than I did ghosts. So I was a skeptic, and even going into season one, I never thought we were going to find what we found. And I kind of came in, and even if you were to look at my interviews with the production company before I got brought on to Ghost Hunters, I was very skeptic. I thought it was heavily psychological, the things that people would experience. But then stuff happened in season one, and I've had many a conversation with the team members, especially Brandon, and I'd be like, dude, like I never thought in a million years we'd capture what we captured. And then we started introducing new equipment and stuff in season two, and now I'm just like, I went from like 75% skeptic now to like, I'm a believer, man.
Oh yeah.
A full-blown believer. Like the stuff that we got is balls to the wall, insane. So yeah, I don't know if you've seen the clip of the EMCCD camera, the electron multiplying camera.
Actually, we did get to see a small clip of that. I'm
So
excited.
that thing is like, I don't know how much Brandon probably talked your ear off about it, but like it's basically like NASA uses this thing. This is an incredible piece of equipment, and it's only going to capture photon events, something that creates energy. That's the only thing that that camera will capture. So we actually got a few hits on it, and it just what I'm really excited about though is like in areas where we get this insane footage from this camera, that'll be the same area where like Daryl and I will have like a crazy personal experience. And like I was getting this crazy personal experience. This is exactly what one of the people had. That one of the claims there was like I felt like I couldn't move, like something was grabbing my arms, and I'm literally as it's happening to me, and I'm like paralyzed. I look to the camera and I'm like, this really pisses me off because I have no way to document this. You just have to take me at my word. But sure enough, we have the EMCCD camera, which picks up something in that area. We have not we have Daryl's body camera, which picks up something in the area, not once but twice. And then we have an ambisonic microphone at the same time as we're having a personal experience, capturing not one but two very, very weird EVPs. So it's like within a span of 48 seconds, when we went back and reviewed everything all at the same time, we have four devices and two personal experiences, and then one of our producers that's not in the show, but one of our producers experienced the same thing that we were experiencing, like way down the hall in another part of the building, and it all happens at the same time.
Oh,
So I'm
crazy.
like, dude, like I'm sold. Signed, sealed, delivered.
Well, when I first got into the paranormal, I always believed in ghosts.
Yeah,
But the one part that I wasn't too sure about was the psychics and mediums and stuff like that. So I always
yeah,
thought that was parlor tricks
yeah, yeah.
until I actually met one, and she told me things there was absolutely no way she could have known. And not one of those things you could have just picked up on. What do you feel about that?
Um, it's weird, man. Like, so a few months ago, at the end of February, we had an event at the Glen Tavern Inn in California. Brandon has significant history with that place, and um, it's really cool to interact with fans and meet with them. And we were investigating with them. And I promise there's a point to the story. And
No, no,
there was
okay.
a there was this one fan of the show who's very, very sincere, a very sincere person. You could tell this woman was all about paranormal investigating the right way. She had so much respect for the entities. And she comes up to me and she's like, Mustafa, I really think you're an empath. I think that you have some type of abilities. I feel like especially children, like child entities, that they can connect with you, right? So, you know, I I try not to like think about that when I go into investigations, but I have to admit, like it got to my head, and then all of a sudden I start thinking like, oh, I'm like the ghost whisperer. So we're doing these investigations, and I'm like, wow, I'm like, I'm gonna get these ghosts to talk, and like I'm doing this stuff, and that to me I think is a surefire way to invite either the wrong kind of activity or to shoot yourself in the foot, so to speak. I feel like in terms of psychics and empaths and that stuff, I don't know that much about like abilities or how it works. I can't even pretend to understand what life for an entity is like, or afterlife is like for an entity in whatever the dimension or whatever it is that we're talking to them. But what I can say is we know that the entities are people. And if you are being sincere and you're playing yourself out in the right way, just like in life, if you're being honest with yourself and how you attract those people you're supposed to attract, in the afterlife, I kind of feel like it's the same way. So I just feel like entities are going to be attracted to you if you're being honest with your personality, just like people are going to be attracted with you, right? So I think that everybody in their own way is a psychic or an empath. It's just how in tune are you with yourself? How well do you know yourself? How well do you know yourself as a person? What do you like? What can't you do? What are the things, the shallow things that really get you on a day-to-day basis? Because those are real human things. And that's the one thing I've noticed in a lot of our investigations. The more human we are, and the more we're not afraid to kind of ask those honest questions that we really want to ask, the more activity that we get. So it's an exercise in humility and humanity, really. So I think anybody can be a psychic or an empath. But in terms of like, if somebody's going to come up to me and they're going to say like, I am a psychic, I'll be like, all right, what did they just say? Tell me who they are. What's their social security number? When were they born? What do they look like? I want to know all those answers. And if you can't give it to me, don't freaking call yourself a psychic. Don't
Sure.
say that, because it's really frustrating. Like, you might be empathic, which is fine, say that. But like to say that you're a psychic and you can get these answers from the ghost, it's like, then why can't you do it all the time? You know?
Right. True.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
I'm still waiting for the lottery numbers myself.
Yeah, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, the lottery would be out of business, you know?
But I mean, not taking away from people who do have abilities, and I
Yeah,
say before I was one of the biggest skeptics that you
yeah,
would ever come across. But when I actually got to meet this woman, and then we got her to be part of the team,
yeah,
and we'd go out on investigations, and I'll give you a real quick
yeah.
kind of generic sample, but we went to a house and she told the lady there some things about her family, and the lady
Wow.
turned around and said, "No, that stuff never happened in my family." So in my head, I'm going, "Okay, you're way off base." What was I thinking? 2 days later, the lady called me up and said, "My mom told me all those things that you told me were true."
Holy smokes.
Yeah,
It's nuts, man. Like I just think some people are kind of more in tune with it than others are. Like Pampa, Texas, Worley Hospital, last episode of season one. We we were trying to find a photo of this woman we believe we made contact with, Mary Lucille Myers. I Even off camera, when I went to the local newspaper and I was looking through obituaries, and for some reason, it's a hospital. tons of people have died in it. For some reason, when we're going through the book, my eyes went straight to Mary Lucille Myers. I don't know why.
Oh wow.
We went, and then we conducted our investigation. We put that name out. We started getting contact like crazy. It was so sustained. We could have literally, the session that Brandon and I conducted with Mary Lucille Myers, that could have been the entire episode. That's how long it was. You could have aired that unedited from start to finish, and that would have been the whole episode. That's how long it was. Afterwards, we believe we saw somebody looking through the window. We want to get a photo of Mary Lucille Myers to see if it looked like, like the face that we saw. And it was kind of similar to Rochelle's. Rochelle's got a round face, and she's got like really, really cute cheeks. She's got really nice cheeks and everything. It's a round face. So like we were looking for this photo. We couldn't find it. Come to find out, we're in New York weeks later. We're doing promotion for the launch of season 1. We're on this yacht, and it's like this like event. I get a text from our producer, Kaylin, and it's a photo of a nurse, and it says, "Meet Mary Lucille Myers." And I was like, what the hell? So we're texting back and forth. I'm like, how'd you find this? She's like, I started talking to somebody at the school. For some reason, they decide to check this closet nobody checks. And they immediately go to this one box that's hidden behind 3 other boxes on this one shelf. And they immediately go to the middle of this stack of 200 plus photos and immediately come across a photo. It's like something told them to do it. They go, they open it up. It's a photo of this woman. They turn around, sure enough, Mary Lucille Myers. She wasn't even in the yearbook. She wasn't even a student in the photo. It was her as a nurse working in the hospital. For some reason, it was in this stack of boxes of photos in this school, and she found it within minutes.
Dude, now see, those are the kinds of things that just blow your mind.
Right?
Like, how the hell? How the hell?
I don't know. I got no explanation.
Okay, let's step back a little bit,
Sure.
and let's find out where you were born and raised.
Ooh. Well, I was born in Paterson, New Jersey, St. Joseph's Hospital.
Jersey.
Jersey, baby, Jersey. And I lived in Jersey only for like a few years, about 4 years, before I moved to the suburbs of New York, Rockland County. And then I lived in a place called New City. I lived there for 5 years. That's the haunted house that I grew up in. And a lot of crazy stuff happened there. My family, my dad made money, lost a ton of money, made it back. We moved back to Jersey with his contracting business. And that's when I really kind of started, every time we went back to Rockland County, because that's where my dentist was, every time I go back as a kid, I'd hit up the county records office and I'd try to find out as much information on this property that we grew up in. And that was the start of my paranormal journey. And then I found out that, it was built by some big time, like local insurance CEO. It was like the first house on the block with like central air conditioning. It had like a jacuzzi in it. It was a nice house. But it turns out that the guy went missing. So I started interviewing people around the town. A lot of people believe he killed himself, and which is weird. So then it's like, how did he kill himself? And everybody I talked to was about 4 different people in the town. They all said he hanged himself. And a lot of people believe he hanged himself in the garage. And that was the news report. Everything was kept very, very hush-hush. They had a story that this guy was like, had killed himself in the house, but it was a story that was buried. Because New City was a really, really religious community, and people didn't like stuff like that. They didn't want that story going out. The house was empty for a really long time, and then we had moved in. But all the reports and the stories that I heard seemed kind of concurrent with a lot of the claims. Like my older brother, he was a kid. He said, "Mommy, I saw a man who was tying shoelaces around his neck in the garage." So then it's like, as a kid, you think it's shoelaces, but when you realize, like as an adult, it's a guy hanging himself, like in the garage. We saw such crazy things happen in that house. Cabinets opening and closing by themselves in the kitchen, waking us up in the middle of the night. Would see my toys move by themselves. The craziest thing that ever happened was I'm home alone with my mom, and I was like playing Sega in my brother's room because he was out playing with his friends, and I wasn't allowed to touch the Sega. But when he wasn't there, I was like, "Whoo, I'm playing it." And I hear my mom call out to my grandfather, who lived with us along with my grandma, and she was like all concerned. And then I come out of the room. My mom's like, "Hey, did you see the bike?" And I was like, no. And she's like, she calls my aunt Flora, who lived 45 minutes away in Jersey. And she's like, hey, I just gonna let you know, bye bye. He just left, so he's probably gonna be there in an hour. My aunt Flora's like, what are you talking about? He's been here for like the past half hour. My mom was like, what the hell? What do you mean? I just saw him walk down the stairs. He left. And Florida's like, no, he's been here. My mom's like, I must be going crazy. 4 hours later, my grandfather gets his first stroke right after she saw him like go down there, and then he was fine. He recovered after that. But like it was weird. Like all these like weird things that happened in that house. So that's where my paranormal journey started, man. I kind of employed a lot of these things that I learned about, the paranormal and ghosts and stuff to help other members of the Albanian Muslim community. A lot of times it was just like people who, again, like my family, were blaming all their problems on ghosts, and I would go in there, and I started doing the investigations as like pageantry. Like I was like, oh, okay, just to ease their minds, and like there's nothing going on here. And then I'd come across things where I was like I'd be getting EVPs, and I'd be like, I can't explain this, but I'm like, don't worry, it's just a person, you're fine. And I helped a lot of people in my community that way, and that's how it all started. And then
Yep.
now I'm on Ghost Hunters.
Have y'all thought about going back to that house to do an investigation?
Ooh, I tried a few times to go and talk to the people who live there, but they're not really
No.
they're not really that like attuned to the idea. And then they were kind of cool. I saw them actually um, right before I was doing the show. I'm like, I got to go back to where it all started. It's going to help ground me. Um, so like when I go out to LA and I talk to them about the show, so I went there and I started talking to the folks there, and it feels different, man. It's got a whole different feeling. I mean, it was a big house with like 3 floors. The basement had like technically 4 bedrooms. It was huge. It was a big house, and at one point, I noticed activity stopped in that place after my uncle and his family kind of had fallen on hard times, and they came in to live with us. So they lived in that whole basement area. And when the house was full and it was hustling and bustling, there was a lot of people in it. The nature of the activity and just the overall feeling changed. And I liken that to, I kind of attribute that to like, if you want to think like what the word haunted means, right? Like we're haunted. A lot of people are haunted in their own lives. Like you're haunted by bad past relationships. What could I have done different? What
True.
could I, you know what I mean? Like what, or like a job that you lost that like, oh man, I could have done so much better. I could have done this. And like, I think that if there's an entity, right, who's haunting a location, just like people are haunted in their own lives, like they, they want to see somebody succeed in life where maybe they failed, right? So if like you're doing everything you can in your life to be happy and to make it and to succeed, then a good ghost, if we want to use that term, is going to be happy, and that they're not going to haunt that place as much. It's not going to make them as upset. And I think with this person in my parents' house that I grew up in my childhood home, they didn't really have like a family or anything, but they had this huge, huge, huge house. So again, this is me just theorizing, but I'm thinking once they saw that the house was full and you had a family that was like 2 families that had fallen on really hard times financially. I mean, there were times we didn't have electricity, or all we had was water. We paid for the water bill, and we had gas. And sometimes we didn't even have gas. We'd have to light fires in the fireplace in order to boil water, to take showers. And we're like doing our homework by candlelight because you can't afford the electricity bill and stuff like that. But we didn't really let it get us down.
Yeah.
And I think that just that, to go into a location and to acknowledge an entity is there, and to acknowledge any sad thing that they've gone through, similar to what happened with at Worley Hospital in Pampa, Texas. That's going to solve a lot of problems, because it says, hey, you hit that human element of, I know what you've been through is really tough, but there's a way through it. As long as you're able to fight to be happy, that can exercise those ghosts.
Right. Well, see, and that brings up a good point that I don't feel like in cemeteries is a good place to actually pick up on ghosts and things, because why would they want to be around a place where their dead bodies at, and not you know, like a
100%.
home. It's just, you know, that's the way I look at it anyway.
Brandon would agree with you, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Anytime we've ever investigated a cemetery, it's really there really hasn't been that much activity. There really hasn't, and I think it's 100% to do with what you just said. You can go anywhere. Me, I would go to a nightclub or something. Like I would go to Six Flags, man. And like
No kidding.
I would just jump on the roller coasters. Like I would, you know what I mean? Or I go to a nightclub and like like guys are like roofing chicks. I'd switch the drinks and like so they roofie themselves or something. Like I would just like I don't know, like or I'd mess with people. Like I'd have fun. Like if I had control of it like that. You know?
Yeah.
So I
Shoot,
wouldn't.
I'm going to ACL, man. Austin City Limits.
Yeah.
Better believe it.
Hell yeah, brother.
So, what does Mustafa like to do when he is not out chasing ghosts?
Jeez, I'm a workaholic. I write for Distractify, which is a viral media site. So I like to try to find like the hottest viral media stories, the next big thing that's gonna pop off. And then I write for myself. I write different screenplays. I'm working on a few short films with some friends of mine, and I like writing that. That's what I'll do. And then if I'm not doing ghost hunters, I'm either writing. I actually funded my paranormal investigative career with like bit roles and TV shows. So I'll be going on auditions. So like they always need like a terrorist on like something. So like Mustafa, but it's funny because I'll show up and I've said this and like people have laughed, like casting directors. Like I'll show up and they'll be like, "Oh," I'm like, "Oh, what's the matter? Like I'm not brown enough," and then they'll like crack up laughing. So like that happens a lot, because it's like they're expecting like a Mustafa, like, "Oh, alhamdulillah," like this like scary looking Arab, and then you get a guy who's like kind of like Italian looking. I look like I make sandwiches in North Jersey, you know what I mean? So it's like I'm just like some regular Jersey scumbag. So I'll do that. I'll like work out a little bit, not too much these days. Before the show, I did a lot of like kickboxing and Muay Thai and stuff like that. So I enjoy doing that. I was an amateur fighter for a while. I was never really good. I was good at knowing what the other person was going to do, but like I wasn't really a good fighter. So there was no way that was going to happen as a professional career. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do, man.
I'm good at falling down.
Yeah. Yeah, just pull guard, do jujitsu, just pull guard, and submit
That's
guys
it.
off your back.
I'm out.
Yeah.
So, what's that one piece of equipment that you enjoy over the rest of them, and what's the others that you just don't want to have anything to do with?
Oh God. Okay, so in terms of equipment, for me, there's nothing better than a great EVP. I love getting a good EVP. So we have the Ambisonic multi-directional microphone. It's got four mics on it. That to me is amazing because you can just set it and forget it, and then you can conduct your investigation. You can have a few laughs with your friends, and a lot of times, like when you're not really trying to elicit a response from an entity, it's like our EVPs. It's like somebody trying to enter a conversation because, like, you see people having fun and you want to join in. So, like that to me, like the Ambisonic microphone is the number one piece of equipment. It's a toss-up between that and the EDI data logger that we use. I love that thing. It's foolproof. You can't mess with it. You can't, unless you go right up to it and blow on it or like put like a, what is that, a hair dryer on it. It's not going to affect the environmental conditions. So I love the EDI data logger and the Ambisonic microphone. Those are the two pieces. In terms of stuff I won't mess with, anything that's really like garage tech, anything that's not adapted from another industry, because we're trying to detect environmental changes, right? So why are you gonna, like, I just don't, like, you can do it to have fun, but like a spirit box, Obulus, SL7, those things, it's like they're cool, and like I like to, it's fun to like go and do it, but like when you have a client that needs an answer, I can't in good conscience go up to them with like a spirit box and be like, hey, we got this EVP, and say with full confidence that it's not just some radio signal somebody picked up from somewhere. It's a scanner. It scans different radio signals, and the idea is somebody's like, oh, but it's an entity using those radio signals to communicate with you. And I'm like, I can't prove that. Like, I can prove that this detected a change in pressure. Like I can prove that. I can prove that the CMCCD camera captured a photon event because that's what it does, you know. Um, but to just say like, hey, there's this ghost box and green means ghost and red means no ghost, I'll be like, well, who built this? It's like, oh, Jake in his, garage, and it's like, okay, well, like, I'm sorry, man, I can't bring that to a client. I just can't.
Oh yeah. Well, then there's some of those things that you, like you said, you have there for fun,
Yeah,
but not something you're going to present as professionally to a
no,
client. What about dowsing rods? How you feel about those?
I haven't used dowsing rods. I was my old team member Mike. He was really into using those. I haven't used dowsing rods. You know what I have used that was really interesting? I used a compass, and I've used a compass to detect changes in electromagnetic fields, like see if there's high levels of EMF. And compasses have been really cool. I've used them. I've had a couple of instances where compasses just wig out for no reason. Once I
Mm-hmm.
started talking about certain phenomena, and then when I stopped talking about that phenomena, compass act normal. So yeah, I mean, I guess dowsing rods could work, but I don't really mess with them that much.
Well, I'll tell you this, and only because of out of experience. I used to work for the water department,
Okay.
and we'd find water lines and sewer lines and things like that using the dowsing rods.
Yeah.
So if you're staying perfectly still
Yeah.
and it's moving on its own,
Yeah.
then something's there. But if
Yeah.
you're moving, it'll pick up a cable going through the middle of the house, or it'll pick
Wow.
up, like I said, the water lines or the sewer lines or a gas line.
Yeah.
So if you're walking, no. If you're staying still and it's moving on its own, it's a good possibility you might have something there.
Really?
Scientifically, I couldn't say.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of just like sometimes just minimal equipment, just like going in, letting stuff record. Uh, Another thing that we love to wear. Oh, I didn't even tell you is body cams. There's something about these body cams, man. I don't know if it's the frame rate in which it records. We have gotten some of our best apparitions just off straight up police body cams.
Oh
It's
wow.
phenomenal, and they have good mics on them too. So like Daryl and I in Alaska, we have probably one of the craziest apparitions we've ever captured in Alaska off of a body cam. And then you set it and forget it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool.
The cameras that the hunters use.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
ever use those?
Yeah, we have. We haven't had much success with those. Like the biggest thing is like sometimes they'll go off and nothing will be there, and I'll be like, well, let's set that off. Like that's interesting sometimes. But have you gotten anything using those hunter cams?
Yeah. Believe it or not, no. But
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to pick up two of them in a garage sale for $4.
What?
Yeah.
Those things are pricey as hell, man.
Hey,
4 bucks.
sometimes you just get lucky.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Just
man.
ask my wife. She got lucky the day she met me.
Uh-huh. I hear that.
Making sure she didn't throwing anything over here. So if you hear something crash against the wall, I'm being
Ghost.
attacked. Yeah, it's a ghost. It's a ghost. Well, I had to ask those questions because my buddy Darren that listens, he always wants to know that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that ambisonic microphone. If you're going to make a big ticket purchase, get yourself an ambisonic or a binaural. I personally like the ambisonic better, but binaural is cool because you can listen in real time too. And the EDI data logger, man, those things are freaking great. And a body cam if you got money like that.
so understand that this season y'all have a little bit more freedom to do what you really want to do out there, huh?
100%. I mean, we're doing a ton of experiments. There's some experiments we wanted to do that we didn't even get to them yet. So hopefully for season 3 we can pull some of those out. Brandon's got experiments up the wazoo. There's one that we conducted in Utah, this one location. I won't say exactly where, but the experiment is we're probably going to do it again on our next investigation. I can't divulge too much information about it, but I'll say that nobody knows about this experiment, which is weird. It's like it seems like it would be a paranormal investigator's wet dream, but Brandon presented it to us, and it's basically it was so official. There was a White House press conference about it.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's like the data that they collected with this experiment. I'm like, how do more people not know about this? Brandon's like, I have no idea. I was like, and he's pulling up like there's like videos or like on YouTube, and I'm like, dude, what? How come I've never seen this? He's like, I have no idea, and it's like all legit, and like the stuff that they found, I was like, what? And then we did the experiment, and it happened at a time where like Brandon's fiance was in labor,
Mm-hmm.
and he had to leave, and we didn't record. I mean, we didn't listen to all of the recordings of this experiment that we conducted. Brandon comes back, and I guess there was like a few files. We're like, oh hey man, like we didn't listen to these yet. We can listen to them. He's like, I'll do it. You know, he loves reviewing audio. And then he found some stuff, and I was like, dude, this is insane. Like we have to use this experiment some more. So, well, without divulging too much, I will say if we pull it off, we might have discovered a way to effectively in real time communicate with an entity and get real time responses, audio ones from them.
Oh man. Okay, now my curiosity is really piqued.
Yeah. We've got some crazy stuff we're gonna do for season 3 too. But season 2 is, I can't wait for you guys to see the stuff that we've captured.
Oh, we're psyched. I mean, I remember when Ghost Hunters first came on television. And,
Yeah.
I happened to see the commercial, and I'm going, oh, no way. This is something I really, really am drawn to, you know?
Yeah.
And so I never missed a show.
Wow.
If I had to work, it was getting recorded.
That's cool, man.
Anyway, I was going to watch it, you know?
Thank you.
And then they went away for some time, and we're all bummed out because we're stuck with some other shows out there I'm not going to mention. But
Yeah, there's some real pieces of garbage out there, man. Like I can't watch them, dude. Like I really can't. Like I'm like, ugh.
I think they kind of get a little overboard on some of the shows. But
Yeah, and like
it's
and I'll put it like I'll like there's some of them that are like I like the people on there.
oh
Like
yeah,
I like the stuff that they're doing, and I give respect to certain aspects of things that they're doing. But it's like, you know, the, some of the stuff I just can't even stomach it. Like I forgot the name of one, but there was like that one show where like they just straight up like fake the full body apparition, and it was like the camera trick that they used to do it is like literally like I used to do stuff like that with like my friends in high school when we would do like video projects and stuff, and I was like, and people were like, whoa, and I'm like, this is literally, you record the room and then you don't move the camera and then you record the same scene with somebody walking through it. And I was like, I thought it was going to be revealed that this was a joke, and it wasn't. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, come on, man, this is what gives the field a bad name, and we look like a bunch of idiots, but whatever.
you know, when I was talking, I think it was with might have been Brandon, or it might have been Daryl. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But y'all had went to that high school,
Pocatello, yeah.
and you see what looked like something was walking out of that room, and first I'm watching and I'm going,
Yeah.
dang, that's the best one I've seen yet. And then y'all found out it was Lent. That's what
Probably,
that's what I appreciate about
yeah.
Ghost Hunters, is because y'all go that extra mile to make sure.
It was
these
interesting.
things-
I didn't say it on camera like right away, but like they were, the producers were giving us the whole docket, and they're like, "Look at this clip." I look at the clip immediately after seeing it. I'm like, I'm like, there's one of two things. I'm like, it's either a string or it's a cobweb. And then Grant's like really interested. He goes, "What makes you say that?" I was like, I used to work in a restaurant where my manager, he's this like shorter guy, and to piss him off, I refused to move. They had a drop ceiling in this restaurant, this banquet hall. Somebody had put a balloon up there, and there was a piece of string there, and it was left over from the balloon. So he'd get mad at me one day. He said, "Well, stop and take that string down." I'd be like, "Okay." So I'd take the string and I'd move it to another security camera. He'd be in his office looking at it, and it looked like the same exact thing. When it would get out of focus, it was the same exact thing. So I'm like, it's either a piece of string or a cobweb. And then sure enough, like it was beautiful, man. Brandon and Grant, they go in to look at it, and then it was like, I'm telling them, like, run on this, run on this. I'm like, look, there's a fucking cobweb. And they go, they put it up, and I was like, yeah, like I just knew it. So like, as stoked as we get to like capture something paranormal, dude, if we can debunk something, like we literally get equally as stoked. Not a lot of people believe that.
Yeah, we had an incident like that at a, well, I can't say the location, but
Mm-hmm.
because they asked us not to reveal it.
Sure.
But anyway, we went to this building, and apparently there had been two or three teams there before us, and
Yeah.
that they got these voices, and they got this, and they got that, and so we go in there and like, okay, I'm anxious, I'm ready to catch it. Well, the voices that we caught were actually coming from a bar that was just about a, I don't know, maybe a block down the street. But if they come out of the bar and they're all yelling and having a good time, well, it sounds like people are talking inside this building.
Wow.
And then they said, well, you can hear something walk across the floor. Well, my
Mm-hmm.
wife happened to notice that the fax machine at certain times of the evening would it'd restart itself, I guess to clear out
Yeah.
information or whatever it does. And it sounds like something's going across the floor. And so you've had all these groups just automatically ready to say, "Oh yeah, this is paranormal." And I'm not saying I'm any better than anybody else. So
Yeah.
don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but if you just go that little extra to make sure,
Yeah.
then you give a little bit of comfort to the people that you're trying to help out.
Well, yeah, that and it honestly makes it when you find something that much more significant. So, like with Daryl and I, tomorrow's the 2 hour season premiere from season two, and we're in Clifton, Arizona. So Daryl and I are investigating the courthouse in Clifton, and we walk in, and people they say they hear footsteps, they say they hear noises, they say all this weird stuff. So we're up on the top floor, and we're hearing everything everybody's talking about, and we're like, what the hell is that? I'm looking up, I see the vents, and I'm like, pointing the microphone up over there. Get the camera guy to point his microphone up over there. It's the ducts in the AC system,
Mm-hmm.
the heating system that they had. But then, okay, cool. So we're like, all right, that's just that. That's what that creak is. That's what that sound is. Whatever. Then we hear like this loud metal cling. We're like, cling. We're like, oh god, what's that? And then we go down to the cell holding area, um, and it's the same exact noise of somebody clanging on the cells, and it like drove us down there. What was down there, we don't know. We didn't get to spend as much time in Clifton as we wanted to, especially not investigating that courthouse. But it
Yeah.
was weird, man. It was like somebody was banging on. And then we went down there and we had other activity on our data logger and stuff, and it was like, what the hell? What's that sound? And it was completely different than the air duct. So it's cool. That's why we were really freaked out when we heard that noise, because then we're like, okay, what is that? What sound is that? And then you go back and you listen to the ambisonic microphone that we had,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like just those two that for like 4 hours in that building. It was just those two noises. What caused it? No idea. We had a camera on it. I watched all the 4 hours of footage on it and stuff. Nothing.
Well,
Nothing.
that same building, we had the AC would come on,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the false ceilings,
Yeah.
and whenever that pressure of the AC kicking on and off would make the rise and lower. So to me, that was a lot of that noise that was going on in there.
Oh, okay.
And plus, I mean, Grant, being that he's a plumber,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to some of those pipes aren't fastened to boards or the metal very well, they'll rattle and they'll make all kinds of noise.
Oh
It
yeah.
makes for a good story, but
Yeah.
you know, but at the same time, you have to say the skepticism makes us better at what we do, because you have to
100%.
go that extra mile to figure out, is this real or not.
Yeah.
So,
I,
what is in your life after Ghost Hunters?
oh man.
What's your goal?
Right now it's just to do more investigating for ghost hunters, man. I'm very, very, very uh, astounded to have been able to find a group of like-minded people and that I actually enjoy going to work with. I really do, and I say this without hyperbole. I really do consider them family.
Mm.
Brandon and I, we have a few side projects, things that we're working on. They're related to the paranormal field. They're directly related to ghost hunters. Legally, I can't talk about a couple of those things that we're doing, but
Right.
it's very strange. I mean, it's very strange, especially with Brandon. I never met him before. I've seen some of APRA's, the American Paranormal Research Association, some of their stuff, which he founded and was a part of. Um, I've seen some of their stuff previously, but I didn't know who Brandon was. And I met him about a year ago. It was in February. They flew everybody out to LA to do auditions for this show, and they took us to this place in Calabasas, the Widow's Ranch, to do like screen testing. It was very cool, and I was ecstatic. I was over the moon. I couldn't believe that this guy who was like, my my great grandfather was living in a cave in Albania, trying to like hide from communists, eating living with goats and like eating mealy, you know, wheat, and came to America as like some like working class immigrant, and like here I am on television, like getting people who are multimillionaires who are putting me on a network which is like one of the top cable rated networks. It's like it was insane to me that like here I am doing this, and and it's all something that I love to do. It's all my passion. My passion is what got me there. So it was a very wonderful moment, and to be there in Calabasas, right? And then you have the head producer of the show, Mike Nichols. I'll never forget this. And he's looking around to see who he's going to pair together to put on camera first. He's looking around, and I had hit it off with Brandon maybe like 15 minutes prior. We're in the car and we're talking. It was just something about him that I really got and I just understood.
Yeah.
And Brandon, so like I'm standing here, right? And then like Brandon's like way over here. So Mike Nichols is looking around, and I just see Brandon not even looking at me, just kind of like goes next to me a little bit. And I was like, all right, because I kind of felt like he understood, like we got each other. So Mike sees us standing next to each other, and he's like, "Hey, you two guys go on camera." And then from then on, I probably had the best session I've ever had in paranormal investigating ever.
Wow.
I called my wife afterwards. I told her, I was like, I don't care if I don't get this show. I really don't. I was like, I actually made more money, working at Rutgers University, and I had a contract with them. I was doing, stuff for them. And then I was writing for Distractify. I was full-time with them. And I was doing pretty well for myself. And I told her, I was like, I don't care if I don't get this show. I was like, I'm just astounded that I had the greatest paranormal investigative experience of my life. And then I met this guy, Brandon. I think he's really, really amazing. And I'm not watching the show if he's not on it. That's exactly what I told her. And then sure enough, him and I got cast for it. So it was really cool. So, yeah, man, what's next for me is just more ghost hunters, and really, really valuing the family that I found on this show, man. And I've got a lot of friends back in New York, a group of artists, and it's why I'll never leave this area. I can't, So I have my family and friends here, and then I've got my road family at Ghost Hunters, and I'm a part of my friends, but I'm the fucking luckiest guy in the world, man. Like I really have, like, I got it made.
You can see it in your face. You're glowing.
I am. It's the golden hour. Selfie time. I'm really lucky,
man. Well, I'll tell you what. This has been a wonderful talk, man.
I enjoyed myself thoroughly.
I have really enjoyed speaking with you, and you know what? I don't care what Brandon and Daryl say about you. You're all right, man.
Everything they say is true.
No, they actually spoke very highly of you.
Yeah,
so
I love those guys.
they said that you would be fun to have on the show. So
cool, man. Well, I'm happy to be on it, man.
now, if I can just get Brian to answer my messages.
Brian will do it. Brian will do it. I'll tell him to hit you up.
I'm teasing.
Brian follows everyone back on social media.
I noticed that.
He's the nicest guy. He probably just hasn't seen your message. He was
No,
not.
no, he. I talked to him yesterday,
Oh, okay, cool.
and I sent him the message because he'd agreed to do the show, and I'm like,
Oh,
okay, I
nice.
just need a time and the date and the time that you want to do
Yeah,
it, and he goes, I'll get that for you tonight, and the night came and
yeah.
went, and
He's got some like I think he's got some like family stuff going on with his pops and stuff. So he'll
well,
yeah, he'll get back to you. He'll
oh
be good.
yeah, I know. He's trying to, I think, coordinate with Rochelle. We're going to have them on at the same time. I
That's
figured,
that
hey, their buddies on TV. Why not?
that is a good time. You will have a good time. That's going to be great.
Now, my wife might hit me, but I just want to meet Kristen myself. But and
That's pretty
whang.
funny. Wham! I've heard that a lot. I've had so many people come up to me. "Tyler, you gotta hook it up. Listen, I was like, what do you hook it up? She's got a boyfriend. Like, leave me alone." And then it's just yeah. There's a lot of people. It's either people hitting up Kristen. Like the people that got hit up by dudes the most are Kristen and like me. I get hit up by middle-aged dudes all the time who just message me about my butt. That's all I get is like I get the DMs all the time, all the time. Like it's so funny. I walk through Hell's Kitchen in New York and I know what it's like to be a woman getting catcalled. It's insane.
Well, it must be nice to have one. I lost a bunch of weight. I lost my butt,
Oh,
so
it's gone.
it's gone.
Mine doesn't dip down until I'm under 200. I'm a big guy. I'm like 235 pounds. So like the second I get under 200, that's the only time. Like so I'll be like 205, and it's just like thin little waist. I think I was supposed to be born a Dominican woman or something because I just got this like this thin. Like, I have like an hourglass figure, dude. I got this like waist and it tapers out, and I have this huge ass. I'm just like, God damn, I just cannot go to prison. I will be in a lot of trouble.
Well, all I can say is I'm just glad my wife didn't have very high expectations. We're just working alongside each other because of all this virus stuff going
Yeah,
on, and I think she moved over there, so it'd be a lot harder to hit me, so she wouldn't have to go to jail or something.
I know my wife's in the office right now, and then she
She's like, men are looking at your butt.
yeah, she doesn't care about that, it's fine. But God forbid I like hear any woman say like, "Oh my God, Mustafa's cute," and then she's like, it's like it's my fault. I'm like, I didn't tell her to say that. Like, what are you doing?
Po boy.